Hi, I'm Kendra with Where's the Moon Astrology, and today I am talking about Jupiter and Scorpio for the Sagittarius ascendant. Now, before I go on, I just want to say that if you are a Sagittarius sun, this video is not necessarily for you unless you also happen to have a Sagittarius ascendant. So what you're going to want to do is check out the link in the description of this video. I've included a link where you can easily find out what your ascendant sign is and then decide what the best video is going to be for you. So before I talk about Jupiter and Scorpio for your particular ascendant sign, I just want to talk about the effects of Jupiter and Scorpio on a universal level. Jupiter and Scorpio overall, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, the planet of abundance, the planet that is more and more and more. It's also the planet of good luck, but overall it's going to be expanding whatever it touches. And being that it's in the sign of Scorpio, it is expanding the traits of Scorpio. So Jupiter in Scorpio is going to be expanding sex, death, transformation, rebirth, power, manipulation. Also because Scorpio is a sign that likes to go under the surface and unearth truths, go beneath the facade and figure out the truth. And then Jupiter is also about truth. What's going to be happening is we're going to be seeing a lot of truths exposed, things that people have tried to keep hidden, things that authority figures have tried to keep hidden. We're going to be seeing a lot of exposure of secrets during Jupiter and Scorpio. For you in particular, Sagittarius, Jupiter is entering your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of isolation. It is a natural house of Pisces. It's a house of spirituality. It's the house of imprisonment. It doesn't sound like a very good house, but it is generally a house of isolation, spirituality, things that are hidden from us, escapism, sometimes substance abuse, drug use, things like that. So overall, not not a particularly pleasant house. However, Jupiter in Scorpio in your 12th house, what could be happening here is, first of all, you might be spending a lot more time alone. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're already an introverted person and you're somebody who likes and enjoys that time alone. You're going to be spending more time alone and in isolation. This could be that external circumstances put you in a place where you have to be alone more. For instance, jail. Sometimes planets entering the 12th house can indicate jail time. I've actually seen this. So if you are not living above the radar, this could be a time of karmic retribution for you. You might be just spending more time alone, getting to know yourself a little bit more. You might be unearthing some truths about yourself and your unconscious, things that you have not wanted to admit about yourself. This is a time when you can really get in touch with yourself and those hidden things, because the 12th house in your chart is a place where you are more, you keep the hidden self, pretty much. It's like your alter ego, the part of you that comes out when you're drunk or when you're under the influence of substances, the part of you that comes out when you have less inhibitions. So I've often seen people act out their 12th house whenever they're drunk or under some kind of influence. So with Jupiter and Scorpio, you may be actually getting to know these parts of yourself. That would be the positive manifestation. You would be going into yourself and maybe doing some shadow work, really getting in touch with some things that you've hidden from yourself, and just spending more time alone as a result of this. It could also be a positive time for endings. I mean, that might not feel very good, but it could be a time for endings that are ultimately for your greater good, because when Jupiter enters Sagittarius next year, it's going to be going into your first house, and that'll be a time of new beginnings. So Jupiter in the 12th house can be a time when there are a lot of endings, and you might be seeing some things kind of die off in your life that will ultimately be for your greater good, but endings are sometimes painful, as we all know. So this could be a bit of a painful time when you are going through some endings. Alternatively, you could be experiencing a sort of self-delusion, because what you have when you have Jupiter in the 12th house, the 12th house is a natural house of Pisces, which is traditionally ruled by Jupiter, and then you have Jupiter entering the house traditionally ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter can be over idealistic. So what happens sometimes, at least this is what happened for me, what happens sometimes when Jupiter enters your 12th house is that you are perfectly happy. There's really nothing wrong with your life as far as you can see. You are perfectly happy, but this is because you're kind of living in a fantasy world sometimes. You are willfully blind to certain things because you've got all this Jupiterian energy, which kind of tends to overlook the fine details, which are important. So you might be in a relationship where you are overlooking certain faults within your partner, or you're choosing to turn a blind eye to bad behavior. And relationships are just one example, but you might be kind of glossing over the details in favor of this optimistic Jupiterian perspective on life. And you could be happily living a delusion when Jupiter is in your 12th house. So knowing this, just keep an eye out, try to pay attention to those finer details so you don't have to go through some major upheaval whenever Jupiter enters your first house. Don't get involved in situations that seem shady. Listen to your intuition because you really have a tendency to idealize when Jupiter's in your 12th house. Another possibility when Jupiter's in your 12th house is that you might be more prone to substance abuse and escapist tendencies. Jupiter's kind of a hedonistic planet, and then the 12th house is all about, escapism and things of that nature, getting away from your problems by any means possible, and that can definitely include substance abuse, alcoholism, different kinds of drug use, anything that takes you out of your current reality because it's too painful to deal with, and it's much easier to revert to the hedonistic and escapist tendencies of Jupiter and Pisces, natural ruler of the 12th house. So definitely try to stay grounded. Try to utilize the energy of this time for some introspection and getting in touch with yourself on a spiritual level. Try not to make this a time when you are totally an escapist and you're just reverting to hedonistic pleasures like alcohol and food and any kind of substance that you might want to bury yourself in, or even because Scorpio is a kind of a paranoid sign sometimes Jupiter and Scorpio can be escapism through conspiracy theories and just kind of wrapping yourself up in certain ideologies. I don't want to say that all conspiracy theories are based in paranoia, but there is an element of that can happen with, conspiracy theories and things like that. So there can be kind of an expansion of paranoid tendencies as well when Jupiter is in Scorpio. So keep an eye on that. That's another way that you could possibly choose to escape. One final interpretation of Jupiter and Scorpio in the 12th house is a sort of ego death. The 12th house is all about kind of lack of ego. Pisces, the natural ruler of the 12th house, that is a sign that is very concerned with disillusion, breaking down the boundaries between people. So with Jupiter in the 12th house, you might be experiencing a certain ego death. You might be experiencing a tendency to overlook yourself. You might be giving much more to other people, putting other people's needs first and things of that nature. So it's another thing to watch out for. Obviously, putting other people first is a virtuous thing, but you don't want to overdo that, which Jupiter's whole thing is overdoing that. So you might be really putting other people's needs first and experiencing this kind of ego death, but you don't want to overdo that and you don't want to overlook your own needs. So that was my video on Jupiter in Scorpio for the Sagittarius ascendant. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you're interested in a chart reading, please check out the link in the description of this video. I offer all kinds of chart readings, including transit chart readings, which would give you a much deeper perspective on Jupiter and Scorpio, as well as all the other planetary influences that are going on in your chart right now. I'm also offering a beginner's level chart reading class. So if you're interested in that, I also have some information on that in the description of this video. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.